Mistakes and tires. Let's talk about Richmond. Capturing his 14th win with Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson takes the checkered flag. It was a very fitting win because Sunday would have been Ricky Hendrick's 43rd birthday. Kyle Larson, of course, races in the scheme that Ricky Hendrick raced in back in the day. So overall, a very solid Sunday for Kyle Larson and the Hendrick Motorsports bunch. I mean, heck, if you look at the results, in second place was Josh Berry filling in for Chase Elliott this week. Very impressive run from him. He wasn't in the top 10 really during the first or second stages, but where the cautions fell in the last stage allowed him to get track position, really good pit stops. Very good day for that 9 team. Looking at more of the results, Stewart-Haas Racing, this is the best run I think collectively they've had as a team. Obviously, Kevin Harvick leading this charge in the 5th position. And though the rest of the SHR team is outside the top 10, they at least didn't fall outside the top 20, which I think is really good success for them, and they were constantly in the mix. As for another team, 2311, this is not the day they needed, especially with Michael Jordan at the track. They had some issues. Even the team owner, Denny Hamlin, he faltered to 3 penalties that day? Tyler Reddick ended up spinning near the end of the race, and then for Bubba Wallace, during one of the pit stops during this race, they had a tire almost go rogue, and then a non-pit crew member decided to try to catch the tire and ended up falling over the pit wall. That is a huge safety violation, so Bubba Wallace got tagged for that. So not the best day for them, and like I said, Denny Hamlin, the pit mistakes, if he wouldn't have made the mistakes he did on Sunday, I honestly think he probably could have won the whole darn thing. And speaking of pit road mistakes, Ryan Blaney, I want him to put together a solid race, and he has this season. Granted, some of them have been really lucky, like the Daytona 500. Others he's just run really, really well, but he had the potential to win today. The Fords were really, really fast. They just weren't able to put it together. Ryan Blaney had an issue on pit road where they actually got the wedge stuck into the window, and he went on track with it, and that is taking equipment out of the pit box. He was penalized for that. He also had a speeding on pit road penalty. There are so many instances where Blaney and Hamlin could be finishing better than they usually do if they make less mistakes. So obviously that's probably their goal moving forward. I would like to see that from those teams moving forward because they've probably lost a lot of races the past few years, at least from what I remember and what I've seen, because of these silly mistakes. 2 more drivers I have to mention within the top 10 are Michael McDowell and Brad Keselowski. Michael McDowell doing really, really well. He had a hot streak last year of having some of the best results or stats in his entire career. He had the most top 10s in his entire career last year. Brad Keselowski is finally racing where I think he should be week in, week out. Of course, it's RFK equipment, but that equipment's actually pretty decent. So excited to see him inside the top 10 for most weekends and actually showing a lot of success. All this to say, though, it was a tire strategy race. We had a lot of pit issues, and those issues and those strategies ended up shaking the playoff standing, so let's take a look at that right now. In case you missed it, last Wednesday, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel, not NASCAR, decided to rescind part of the Hendrick Motorsports penalty for the hood louvers. The part of the penalty that was kept was the 4-week suspension for the crew chiefs and the monetary fine of $100,000. The part of the penalty that was lifted was the 100 driver's points and the 10 playoff points. In my opinion, the points penalty is the one that should have been kept, and here is why. For a team like Hendrick Motorsports, on the outside looking in, a monetary fine is not that big of a deal. It does not necessarily or directly equate to playoff championship hopes being crushed. A points penalty, though, does. We saw with RFK last year. I know Brad Keselowski did not run the best last year. We saw him struggle. It was awful. And same with the points situation over there. That was awful, and he was not able to work his way back from that. If you gave Hendrick Motorsports a points penalty and you kept it, that team would have had to continue to work back from that. That is more of a penalty and more of a stressor to me in my eyes from the competition side of things than a monetary fine because it has championship implications. We also have to keep in mind this is Hendrick Motorsports. Larson was bound to win at some point. He won last weekend at Richmond. I know William Byron, he's probably going to win a few more. Alex Bowman guaranteed a win this season. Same with Chase Elliott when he returns. I'm sure he's going to win once or twice, maybe as soon as he gets back. I don't know. But I think working their way back from those points penalties was not going to be as much of a struggle as it is for other teams. But I still think that is the penalty that should have been kept. It has more implications, but That's just my opinion. I want to know what you think, though. But because the points were given back to Hendrick Motorsports, that means that the playoff standings going into Richmond were already shaken up. Alex Bowman was now seated at the top of those points. But now Richmond is over, so let's take a look at our current point standings. William Byron sits at the top right now because he has 2 wins if we're looking at the playoff grid. But if we're looking past those that have locked their way into the playoffs with a win, we have Bowman, Chastain, Bell, Harvick, Truex, Keselowski, Blaney, Hamlin, Cindric, and Buescher. And on the outside looking in is Suarez, McDowell, and LaJoie, all within 10 points of that cutoff line. Something cool here, the RFK cars right now, both of them are inside the playoffs. Still very early in the season to say they're both going to make it. I mean, we're only 7 races in. And also because we've had 6 different winners in 7 races. We're kind of on point to have maybe the same amount of winners, maybe just around that ballpark as we did last year. So something to keep your eye on, but very impressive for RFK. Now it's time to go to the race rating, rating this race above or below the yellow line. And if you know me and you've watched this show for a while, you've heard my opinions, you know Richmond is not my favorite track. This is nothing personal against Richmond. It's just every race I've seemed to watch, I haven't enjoyed as much as I would have liked to, especially with short track racing, because I love short track racing, but I haven't always loved the product at Richmond. However, the racing we saw on Sunday was not too bad. I think the new short track package that we have with the lower downforce, I think it actually enhanced the racing. I know at Phoenix, I had some issues with it. You weren't able to get to the guy in the lead. There was I feel like minimal passing, but it wasn't like super bad. This race, at least there was a lot of passing in the mid pack. If there was a guy that got to the lead, the guys in second place, third place, whatever place you were, had a chance to work your way back up to that leader and pass him. So, and a lot of that too has to do with tire fall off that we see at Richmond. So it was also tire strategy that really helped this package, I believe. I will also say where the cautions fell today introduced some really interesting strategy. It wasn't a cut and dry race where we just had the stage breaks and that's it. It made things a little intense near the end as well. I think, given the circumstance that I gave this race a 38% last year, I gotta give this race a 65% this year, making it above the yellow line. I'm impressed by what I saw at Richmond. I'm gonna be completely honest. It was a solid race, kind of enjoyable. But that does it for this episode of Above the Yellow Line. We'll break down more NASCAR storylines and news coming up on our live stream this Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to keep building that Lego set, that NASCAR 75 Lego set. Hopefully I get farther into building than I did last stream. So stick around for that on Thursday at the Toby Christie Com Facebook and YouTube channels. I'll also be streaming it on my TikTok page at _TaylorKitchen_. You can also find me using that username on Twitter. And for more NASCAR content from me, make sure to check out Above the Yellow Line on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So if you want more NASCAR content before we go live on Thursday, make sure to check me out on my social media pages. Thank you all so much for the support, and until next time, I'll see ya. Want more awesome NASCAR content? Make sure to check out the videos right here and click the link on the screen.